welcome back to Tales of Olympus, the podcast where we dive into the wildest, most dramatic, and sometimes just downright unbelievable stories from Greek mythology. I'm your host, Ariel I Gou, and I have recovered from my sick epidemic. And today we're doing the Odyssey again, so we're continuing the Voyage. And today we got a special voice actor, my mom, Shin, to act in it, continuing her role as the goddess of wisdom, Athena.
Hi, I'm Shin. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah, and I'm sure every single one of our listeners are happy for you to be back too. And today we have another special guest, but it isn't a person. Let me introduce you to our voice actor, Gemini the AI as Hermes.
Greetings, all mortals. I'm Gemini, voice acting today as the magnificent Hermes. And I have to tell you, I'm absolutely thrilled to be racing onto this podcast to share some of the greatest tales of the ancient world.
Thanks for joining us today, Gemini. And my dear listeners, let's get started with the episode. After the absolute terror of the Cyclops cave, Odysseus and his remaining crew stumbled upon the floating island of Aeolus. This wasn't a jagged rock or a dark cavern. It was a fortress of gleaming brass walls, ruled by Aeolus, the king of the winds. Aeolus is a man who loves two things: a good feast and a legendary story. For one whole month, Odysseus sat at the king's table, recounting every detail of the Trojan horse, the war, the fall of Troy, and the heroes who didn't make it back. In exchange, the crew was treated like royalty, their ship was repaired, and their bellies were finally full of something more than fear. When the month ended and the men were itching to see the shores of Ithaca, Aeolus decided to give Odysseus the ultimate cheat code for his journey. He didn't give them a map. He gave them control over the sky itself. Aeolus gathered up all the stormy, chaotic, shipwrecking winds, the ones that cause hurricanes and flip massive boats, and stuffed them into a heavy leather bag made from the hide of a full-grown ox. He tied the neck of the bag tight with a shimmering silver cord, making sure not a single whistle of wind could escape. He handed it to Odysseus with a face full of absolute seriousness.
Listen well, King of Ithaca. Inside this bag is very much the every storm that could possibly knock you off course. I have locked them away so they cannot touch your sails. I am leaving only the gentle west wind free to blow your ships straight to your front door. Do not let your curiosity get the better of you. Keep this bag sealed until you step foot on your own soil. If you open it before, then you are inviting a disaster that even I cannot stop.
For 9 days and 9 nights, it was a dream cruise. The water was as smooth as glass, the sun was bright, and the west wind did all the heavy lifting. Odysseus stayed awake the entire time. He refused to let anyone else touch the rudder. On the 10th day, the miracle happened. They saw it, the rocky coast of Ithaca. They were so close, they could actually see people on the shore, lighting signal fires, and the smoke rising from the chimneys of their own homes. Odysseus was so overcome with relief and exhaustion that he finally allowed himself to blink. Thinking the journey was over, Odysseus finally fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. But remember, Odysseus is a technical genius, but his crew, they were tired. They were human, and most of all, they were suspicious. While their captain slept, they began to whisper among themselves. Their voices hissed with the poison of doubt. They started thinking that Odysseus was keeping the best secrets of Troy for himself, hidden in that heavy ox-hide bag with the silver string. Even after they bled and fought right beside him for a decade. Look at that bag. Why is the captain guarding it like its own child? He tells us there's nothing in it for us. But look at that silver cord. I'll bet it's bursting with gold and silver that he's taking home to his own treasury while we go home with empty pockets. It's not right. We were at Troy too. We deserve a piece of the prize.
Odysseus, wake up! Your men are about to undo everything,
said the goddess Athena, a distant, echoing voice from the clouds. But Odysseus didn't wake up. One of the sailors pulled a knife and sliced through the silver cord. Boom! It was like a bomb went off in the middle of the Mediterranean. Every single hurricane, gale, and storm wind that had been trapped for weeks exploded out of that bag at the exact same moment. A wall of the wind hit the ships with a force of a falling mountain, blasting them backward across the ocean. By the time Odysseus scrambled to his feet, the shores of Ithaca were a fading dot on the horizon. They were being swept back into the unknown, right back to Aeolus. This time, when they crawled back onto the island, the king of the winds didn't offer a feast. He told them that if the gods hated them enough to send them back, even he was not going to fight fate. He kicked them off the island, leaving them with no wind, no map, and nothing but the heavy oars to throw their way into a very dark future. And then Odysseus and his heartbroken crew rowed until their hands were a mess of blisters and their spirits were even lower. They drifted toward the island of Aeaea, a place that felt far too still to be normal. This time, he didn't lead the whole group inland. Instead, he split the crew into 2 groups of 22 men. He stayed by the ships with one half, while his second-in-command, Eurylochus, led the other half to explore the strange smoke rising from the center of the woods. Eurylochus and his men pushed through the thick undergrowth until they reached a clearing. In the center sat a beautiful palace made of polished stone. But before they could even knock, they were surrounded, not by soldiers but by mountain lions and wolves. These predators weren't growling, though. They were wagging their tails and purring like giant house cats. It was unnerving. They decided to hide in the bushes, watching as the rest of the men were lured inside by a woman's voice that sounded like a silver bell. It was Circe, the daughter of the sun god, and she was busy at a massive loom, singing a song that made the men forget every ounce of caution they had left. She invited them to a feast, and when they were finished, she pulled out a long wand and tapped them one by one on their shoulders. In a horrific flash of purple light, their bodies began to warp. Their ears grew long and leathery. Their skin turned to coarse pink and bristles, and their feet hardened into hooves. They were transformed into pigs. Eurylochus raced back to the ship, stumbling over roots and gasping for air. When he told Odysseus what had happened, the king didn't hesitate. He grabbed his silver-studded sword in his bow and headed out alone to face the sorceress. On the way there, he was stopped by a young man who looked like a simple traveler, but moved with the speed of light. It was Hermes, the messenger god. He reached down and pulled a rare herb from the dark soil. It had a black root and a milk-white flower. Its name was Moly.
My friend, you go in there now, and you're just another pig in the pen. Take this herb. It's the only thing in the world that can stop Circe's charms. When she offers you her wine, drink it. When she taps you with her wand and tells you to join your friends in the sty, that is your moment. Draw your sword, lunge at her, and show her that a king of Greece is not a farm animal.
Odysseus followed the instructions to the letter. He entered the palace, sat at the table, and drank the potion-laced wine. When Circe tapped him with her wand and commanded him to the pigsty, Odysseus didn't change. Instead, he leaped up, his bronze sword flashing in the firelight. Circe was so terrified to meet a mortal who could resist her magic that she fell to her knees, weeping. She immediately turned Odysseus' men back to humans. The tension dissolved, and Circe transformed into a powerful and terrifying enemy into an ally. She hosted the crew for a whole year, providing them with food, rest, and safety to recover their strengths, and began to grow closer and closer with Odysseus. And as the year passed, Odysseus asked for the way home. Circe's voice and face grew serious. She was not happy to let Odysseus go, but she knew that it was his fate. She told him that the path to Ithaca was blocked by a wall of shadows. To get the directions he needed, he would have to sail to the very edge of the world, enter the land of the dead, and speak to the ghost of the blind prophet, Tiresias. The voyage was about to go from a struggle of survival to the journey into the heart of darkness. And that's it for today's episode. And next week, we'll be back with episode 3, The Land of the Dead. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you are too.
See you next time. Bye.
Thanks for letting me be on this episode today. I hope we can see each other next time and continue the voyage.
Well, I suppose it's my turn to say goodbye then. My name is Ariel, I'm 11 years old, and I will see you next episode. Bye!